Liz, thank you, Joe. Despite billions being spent on the global warming initiative around the world, the people, certainly in the United States, do not consider global warming a threat. It's way down in the level of concerns from the public. I'd like you to address a little bit this push for, on all different levels, in grammar schools and elsewhere in the school system, really now pushing global warming to our children, and now with the Vatican and the encyclical, also they now have a new moral voice behind the global warming initiative.
Well, yeah, we touched on this a little bit earlier. So there is a full frontal attack, I think, on American kids to try to propagandize them on this issue. And I think it's unethical. I think it's just a horrible thing. I think for teachers to be scaring kids by showing them pictures of glaciers melting. Glaciers melt naturally. I'm sorry. It happens all the time. It's called winter and spring, and deserts and dead animals. I mean, they're frightening kids. They're using fear. Educators should not use fear. Geez, I mean, I would think that would be just rule number one. And when they see that in Al Gore's documentary film, that should just be a huge red flag. They should say, I'm not going to show that in my classroom. That's unfair. Images are really powerful. What we try to do when we educate kids is we wean them off of images, image-based thinking. We try to get them to read, because reading is linear, it's multi-step, it forces you to think. And if you just react to images instead of responding to signals, I think is the distinction in the literature, then you can actually get a rational thought process. So they're using scare tactics. I think it's absolutely unethical. We need to get some balance in the classrooms. I'm a little optimistic that this is going to happen. I think the American people are fed up with this. Surveys show about half of us think this is all nonsense. 40% think the media is exaggerating the problem. These are big numbers. And the people who pay attention almost immediately figure it out. Because they don't have to be real bright to see through what the other side is doing on this issue. So if the temperatures continue to stay relatively flat, we're now going into the 19th year where temperatures have not risen, pretty well flat for 19 years. If that continues for a few more years, or if we go into a global cooling period, I think the wheels fall off of this thing. At some point, people are going to say, you're an idiot. You say there's global warming, well, look out the window. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's March and there's snow on the ground. This is not global warming. So I'm hopeful that that's going to happen. And maybe with a different president, any president besides Barack Obama, who has made this issue oddly kind of one of his legacy things. Once we're past Barack Obama, it's got to go in our direction. Public interest is going to go down, and investment in this stuff is going to go down, and more people are going to realize this was just a really terrible mistake that we made.
Joe, I have to tell you, I have a nephew who is a freshman in high school in Pittsburgh, and he asked me the other day whether this video was going to be available after you were done with the live stream. And I said, well, yeah, everything is automatically archived on the YouTube page. I'll be sure to send you the link. He's going to back up, in his science class, his teacher asked, who here doesn't believe in global warming? To my nephew's credit, he put his hand up, and he was the only one. And so he's asked if he could get that link, and he's going to ask his teacher if they can show that in class. So Al Gore, 4,020,000. Joe Bast won. You start small, but I'm proud of my nephew, and I'll keep you updated on whether they get to show at least some of this in his class. And we have a question over here. Unless you wanted to comment on